Everyone, A-Tox back in the video. Before we get into the video, please don't forget to like the video, comment down below for my next possible deck video idea. Who knows, your deck tech idea could be my next video. Don't forget to turn on the notifications to stay up to date on my next and future videos. And most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now, on to the video. This video is a different type of EDH deck. It's not a typical commander you would see at CDH tables. It is Hazezon, Shaper of Sand. I know I'm probably butchering that. For 1 red, green, and a white legendary creature, human warrior. 3/3 desert walk. You may play desert lands from your graveyard whenever a desert enters the battlefield under your control. Create 2 1/1 red, green, and white sand warrior creature tokens. The reason I went with Staxs with this variant of the deck is I wanted to try something different. I was looking through EDH Rec last night trying to see, I want to build a Naya commander, but a Staxs variant of it. I didn't want to do Atelier plotting or anything like that, so I saw this one. I'm like, this should be interesting. Let's move on to the 21 creatures. Walking Ballista, Birds of Paradise, Fine-Haired Elves, Land of Worlds, Collector Oomph, Dark-Side Distortionist, Strand's Magistrate, Elvish Archivist, Gaddock Teague, Leon Arbiter, Soulless Jailer, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, Archon of Emeria, Azusa Lost But Seeking, Imperial Recruiter, Professional Facebreaker, Squeeze the Immortal, Stone Shaker, Shaman, Varin, Windmare, Lowstone Golem, and Teamer Sabertooth. Quite a few stack pieces in the creatures. So far, like Collector Oomph, Strand's Magistrate, Gaddock Teague, Leon Arbiter, Soulless Jailer, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, Archon of Emeria, so on and so forth. For those who see Squee, yes, this is a food chain deck, which the main win condition is Squee, Food Chain, and Walking Ballista. I have made several different changes to this deck before I even started recording. I removed, you really want to speed blitz your opponent, move on so you can get Squee, cast Squee, exile Squee to Food Chain, make infinite mana, cast Walking Ballista, and win the game from there. There are several different spells, artifacts, and enchantments I don't think I've really seen in a typical Staxs deck. But again, I don't think Staxs are usually these colors. It's either 5 colors or either Crom, Lucas Opus, Timna Weaver, or something like that. But I want to try something a bit different because I feel like I'm very explorative. Explorative? Is that even a word? Anyways, on decks, I've loved Commander. I love experimenting with new decks, new ideas, or putting a twist on certain deck ideas. Now let's move on to the 14 spells. Green Sun Zenith, Red Elemental Blast, Silence, Surge of Salvation, Veil of Summer, Calamity's Wake, Heroic Intervention, Deflecting Swat, Jessica's Will, Fairy's Protection, Ruination, Wrath of God, Sunfall, and Blasphemous Act. So not much in the spells besides Green Sun Zenith. Going to go search for either Squee or one of our many stack pieces. We can even search up Teamer Sabertooth if we really have to. Red Elemental Blast, of course, to counter that Force the Will, destroy that Heuristic Study, or something along the line that is giving us a hard time. Silence, to silence our opponents so we can go off and win that turn, since we have Dockside, Teamer Sabertooth, Food Chain, and Squee all assembled. Just win from there. Surge of Salvation, which I do like. You own permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Prevent all damage that would be dealt by black and or red sources to your creatures this turn. So if you have to, cast Blasphemous Fact. In response, cast this. It prevents all damage to all your creatures since Blasphemous Fact is red. And you just swing in for the win if you really have to. Of course, there's the good old Veil of Summer, which allows you to draw a card if your opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and black spells this turn, which is pretty good. Calamity's Wake, if you really have to, pull the trigger right then and there. Calamity's Wake, 1/1 white, instant, exile all graveyards. Players can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Exile Calamity's Wake. I do feel like this is a better Silence. Silence, which I just went over. 1 white, instant, your opponents can't cast spells this turn. I understand that this shuts off all opponents for everything. I think there's just so very few flash creatures in CDH in general, or Magic in general, that I do think Calamity's Wake is better in some situations. This exiles all graveyards. Players can't cast non-creature spells this turn. Yes, that does include you. You would usually have your combo, your setup already before you play this. Heroic Intervention, of course, just a good card. Deflecting SWAT, same thing with Jessica's Will. Teferi's Protection, just in case if you have to pop out of existence real fast. Ruination, if you really want to piss everybody off the table. Wrath of God, Clean Slate. Sunfall, which I think is an interesting card. Exile all creatures. Incubate X, where X is the number of creatures exiled this way. Create a incubation token with X+1/+1 counters on it. It has 2, transform this artifact. It transforms into a 0/0 artifact, Phyrexian creature token. So, if you really have to, let's say they're playing a Nagila, the Blade Blossom, infinite attack, but they can't attack, but they have a bunch of tokens. Usually they will have haste or something like that. Let's say they don't. Let's say they're about to go off, someone counters the one spell they have to. I guess to your turn, Sunfall. Oh, what's this? I have a 40/40 incubation token. Oops. I think that's pretty good. Then, of course, good old Blasphemous Act. 8, 1 red sorcery. This spell costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act does 13 damage to each creature, which will usually kill everything on the field. Just saying that much. So it's a very good, expensive, but becomes cheaper throughout the game, sort of board wipe. Now on to the 18 artifacts. Mana Crypt, Zuran Orb, Grafdigger Stage, Soaring, Stone of Rhetoric, Arcane Signet, Curse Totem, Dampening Sphere, Seer of Resistance, Thorn of Amethyst, Torpor Orb, Weathered Runestone, Crucible World, Ensnaring Bridge, Sphere, Birthing Pod, Conduit of Worlds, and Isolation Cell. So there are some very iconic, pretty iconic stack pieces like Curse Totem, Dampening Sphere, Seer of Resistance, Thorn of Amethyst, Torpor Orb, just to name a few. The one card I'm really happy I can play with is Conduit of Worlds. 2 double green artifact. You may play lands from a graveyard. Choose target non-land permanents in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spell this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. This is a better Crucible Worlds in my opinion. Yes, it costs 1 more and it restricts you to double green. Besides allowing you to play extra lands, it allows you to cast 1 non-land permanent from your graveyard. If you really have to, Food Chain, Wilderness Reclamation, Phyrexian Unlife, Solemnity. Just something you have to get on the field to win that turn. Yes, it restricts you to a sorcery speed, but I feel like if you have everything else set up, it does not matter. Birthing Pod is just in here just in case we have to get Squee, Dockside, or even Temur Sabertooth, or one of our other many good creatures. Spear, just a good old-fashioned stack piece. Same thing with a bunch of these. I've noticed I'm running very few, mana rocks. I don't think I really need a lot of mana rocks in this deck. Besides, the reason I don't have a lot of mana rocks, I guess, is because of Gaddock Teague, which restricts everybody for non-creature spells. Basically, no one can play non-creature spells with converted mana cost for greater. Non-creature spells with X in their mana cost can't be cast. So now let's move on to the 10 enchantments. Carved Flower, Exploration, Wild Growth, Impact Tremors, Sylvan Library, Food Chain, Ghostly Prison, Phyrexian Unlife, Solemnity, and Wilderness Reclamation. So besides being a Food Chain deck, a semi-Staxs Food Chain deck, there is also Phyrexian Life and Solemnity combo. For those who don't know what this combo is, Phyrexian Life, 2 white enchantment. You don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. As long as you have 0 left life, all damage is dealt to you through Infect instead. So as soon as you reach 10 counters, you lose the game. But Solemnity says 2 white enchantment. Players can't get counters. Counters can't be put on artifact, creatures, enchantments, or lands. So yes, this would technically screw us, but there's also, usually at this point, we're just so far ahead that it doesn't really matter. But if we do have this, we can't cast Walking Ballista because, well, we can, but we just can't put any counters on it. But if we're at this point, we will just constantly exile Squee to Food Chain and keep activating Impact Tremors. Impact Tremors, 1 red. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deal 1 damage to each opponent. So you just keep exiling and exiling, recasting, Squee the Immortal from Food Chain, and you just simply ping all your opponents to death. Of course, there's always the good old-fashioned Ghostly Prison. Creatures can't attack us unless their controller pays 2 for each creature attacking us. Of course, there's always good old-fashioned Wilderness Reclamation, 3 green enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control, which is just a good card in general. I actually think this was either banned in Modern or banned in Standard. I don't remember, to be honest. Now on to the 36 lands. Ancient Tomb, Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, Command Tower, Desert of Fervent, Desert of Indomitability, Dunes of the Dead, Dust Bowl, Field of the Dead, Forest, Use Cradle, Glacial Chasm, Grasping Dunes, Jetmir's Garden, Lowe's Field, Mr. Rainforest, Mountain, Painted Bluffs, Plains, Plateau, Rampin, Ruins, Sacred Foundry, Savannah, Scavenging Grounds, Shafif Dunes, Spectre Seeding, Spiral Garden, Stomping Ground, Strip Mine, Sunscorched Desert, Survivor's Encampment, Taiga, Temple Garden, Burnt Catacombs, Vesuva, Windswept Heath, Foothills. Let's go over the main combo and the main win conditions for the deck. The first one is Walking Ballista, Squeeze the Immortal, and Food Chain. So, Walking Ballista, double X, artifact creature, construct 0/0. Walking Ballista enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. 4, put a +1/+1 counter on Walking Ballista. Remove a +1/+1 counter from Walking Ballista, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Squee, 1, double red legendary creature Goblin. 2/1, you may cast Squee the Immortal from the graveyard or exile. Food Chain, 2 green, 2, 1 green, exile creature at X mana of any one color where X is +1, the exile creature's mana value. Spend this only to cast creature spells. So your idea is to exile Squee as many times as you need, netting 1 red the entire time. So you exile Squee to Food Chain, you get 4. Use 3 of that to recast Squee from exile. Be doing this over and over until you either cast a big enough Walking Ballista, machine gun your opponents down. The other combo or win condition, let's say you have got a Teague out in the field and you can't cast Walking Ballista, you will simply have Squee the Immortal, Food Chain, and Impact Tremors. You exile Squee, recast it over and over again, netting infinite red. But every time Squee enters the battlefield with Impact Tremors on, which is 1 red Impact Tremors, 1 red Enchantments. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. So you just do this as many times as needed until you kill the opponents. The downside to this deck is, unfortunately, it is a Staxs deck. You will have to pilot this as careful as you can. If you don't, you will easily lock yourself out of the deck. Let's try not to do that. Let's try and win. Besides that, I do think this is one of the easier decks to play in Pilot. Of course, it's still pretty expensive at $2,594.13 or 151.5 ticks or 151.50 ticks, I guess, whatever. So this is a very heavy Staxs, I want to say, but there's also a combo finish. I did remove a lot of cast 1 spell per turn sort of thing. Rule of Law, Eidolon Relic, and stuff like that. I did want to throw Blood Moon in here, but I felt like that would be too dangerous because we only have 3 basics and majority of our stuff is green. Well, there's actually a healthy amount of green, red, and white sort of split variation of the deck. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this video was helpful, fun to watch, or a bit of both. As for now, and as foretold, always remember, let's make Modern great again. WotC, get to banning things like Ragavan, Fury, Grief, and the One Ring, and unbanned Pod, Twins, and Hypergenesis. We're not asking anymore. We're telling you to do this now. Don't be a meanie little weenie. It's alright to let people play with proxies. Sometimes people just can't afford cards. And that's fine. It's just a game that we all love and enjoy. Always remember, in this vast multiverse, it is ours for the taking. If I can do it, you can do it too. Until next time, always remember, A-Tox drew first.